Overstepping podcast. I press the music for half a second. You got Dingus 1 through Dingus 4. You guys can label us however you want to, but I know my number. I was Dingus 4. But sure, I'll be Dingus 1, I guess.
And you're Dingus 3.
Here's Dingus 3 in this thing. What's happening? What is it? Oh my gosh. No, you hit the
idiot.
There it is.
Idiot.
There it is. There's the idiot. But super excited for today's episode. Agostini and I were kind of talking through the process because my boy, at this second, who knows when this is going to be released? Who knows? He could be on the moon right now. I don't know. But at this point, we have been talking about you living with your in-laws.
Yes.
And there's just some health stuff going on, and you guys want to be there for your in-laws. No. Or a drum. There you go. And so kind of in the process, we started talking about that because like, I've lived with my in-laws. Like Alejo's lived with his in-laws. Schuetz has lived with his in-laws. We've all lived with our in-laws, and just kind of wanted to talk through.
The bottom line is that we're deadbeats, and
yeah, we got a bunch of deadbeats.
Okay.
It's all, everything is okay. So we wanted to talk through that, kind of like how do you have boundaries with family, but also like,
Can I actually say something?
no, how dare you?
This okay?
Yes.
No, actually, so
give this guy a mic.
I know,
This guy,
right?
Mike. Take it away from him.
Let me go back. I was just thinking about this. This might be later on, but our culture has created this place of we need to have our own life, we need to have our own living areas, we need to have our own housing and all that stuff, which is fine. Nothing's wrong with that. But I noticed that's only like a Western society
It's
thing.
definitely
like,
super cultural.
like our cultural over there is like you live with your family, like you actually build on your property or whatever they did like back then. Like you would
build
go and,
wealth. Yeah, you like family
which
wealth.
I think even in the Muslim culture, like right now, like people over there, like. That's what they do. They just put their money together. They live together. That's why they're wealthy.
The guys go work, and all the women take care of the kids, and et cetera. And it's definitely a very different culture in a lot of ways. And so today just
Spanish culture is very much like that.
Yeah.
Like in Spanish culture, if you did what your parents wanted you to do, like most parents would be like, live at my house with your family. Mm-hmm. Like that would be like the natural thing. In fact, I grew up. My mom, when she was dating, after she got divorced, she was dating this guy whose entire family lived in one house.
Yeah,
and it was like, and it was awesome. They had like the best family, bro.
Yeah.
Like they had, just like they had so much fun. All the cousins were super close. Like So it's so it is a weird.
Yeah,
it is a weird.
Actually,
thing.
I knew a couple that lived across the street from us when I was growing up. And they had all their family members living in one house. And what they did was they thought, hey, we all want our own places. So how about we go get a place together? Literally like maybe 10 plus people, I don't know. And they all basically saved up together, like tried to basically get each other family members out of the house and go get their own house. So like they would come together and like after the years would go by, they would just help each other get their own place. And I was like, wow, it's really cool. Like how they all just work together just to be able to support one another.
Different style.
Yep. Yeah, just different. And so...
Yeah.
They probably worked in the family business together.
Yeah.
They're probably like, there's just been a lot of this, probably in the direction we're trying to go, but a lot of individualization that's taking place, like in the United States, where it's like you go and I mean it's biblical to uncleave.
That's what I was about to say. Go and cleave to your wife and leave
but
your
at the
father
same
and mother.
time, it's like I mean.
What area does that mean?
Yeah,
does
what does that word
finances?
cleave? Like,
does
what does that
mean?
Well, if you think of
spiritually?
Jacob, Jacob went to be with Laban.
Yeah.
Got his wives. Was not looking for two.
Whoa.
This is a package deal, sir. What the heck? You owe me 7 more years. No. But he gets his wives, and then after a while, when he gets his wealth, after he gets his wealth, he goes back, and he goes back to like his family.
Yeah.
So there's something. There must be like a really, maybe not, the word is not perfect, but like a very biblical balance about what it looks like to be not independent, to uncleave, yet still be communal and in family, which I'm not sure how to even approach what that would look like.
What's your thought, Schuetz?
Well, it's also just wisdom. Yeah. Like just a lot of our culture, I think today is fake it till you make it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where a lot of them, they're just faking it and they're not making it. Like now they got to figure that out.
Going into debt, like all this stuff. Yeah.
And it's just burden on top of burden.
Yeah.
So yes, there's sacrifices in going to live with in-laws, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But there's so much more of vision and pros than the cons, right?
Yeah. I feel like we have a little bit of a context, us three at least, living in the community that we live in with our houses being so close.
Yeah.
Where like we feel some of those oversteps, right?
Yeah.
We some of those too close moments,
Mm-hmm.
some of those I wish I had some me time moments,
100%.
right? Like we feel those, and I think that before I lived in that environment, my idea of it was that it was gonna be way harder than what it actually is. Like I just remember thinking like, gosh, like nope, like I can't hide from people. Like
If I'm ticked off at you, I literally have to come home to you.
You know what I mean?
If I'm having a bad day, like
Yes.
you know, my buddy was having a bad day on the back porch one day, and I just noticed him, and I was like, I gotta go check on my friend. And somebody's like,
And
why?
he's
He's
like,
just
I
sitting
don't
on the
want
back.
anybody to check
And
on you
I'm
right
like, no, I know my friend. And so I walk out there. Actually, I just barely walk out, and I just give him a thumb up, thumb sideways, and thumb down. And I go like, he goes. I'm like, all right, I'm coming. Just like run over there, you know. But it's like if we didn't live near each other, and if we didn't know each other, you know, like all that conversation that we had, you know, just about life and things. Like, yeah, it's you're almost inviting people into a space that is scary. It's vulnerable, you know, and especially when you live with your in-laws, live with just family in general. They're the people that know you the most. Mm-hmm. So like sometimes you're the most raw and like uncompassionate, unempathetic, like in that way, because we're like, well, you're kind of forced to love me. You're kind of like, I wouldn't act this way with my friend, with my coworker. I wouldn't go walk off because I didn't get my way with a coworker.
Right.
But I'll walk off with my family. I won't do this with my family, but I'll do that with my coworker. You know, it's like, well, why? Why do we do that?
But you become an open book.
Yeah.
You do.
Yep.
You become an open book.
Yeah.
It's,
Yep.
Especially living with your family prior, like you're about to do this in-law adventure.
Yeah.
And so you have freedoms, I'll say freedoms that you have now that you're going to sacrifice later.
Yep.
So that you can gain freedom again.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there are two, like there's a different mix and match that you could do with like living with your in-laws too. Like it's kind of like a spectrum, right? So you could live with your in-laws in a room at their house.
Yeah.
You could live with your in-laws in a separate dwelling, you know, on the same piece of land.
Yeah.
Yep.
You could live with a wall separating you.
Right.
You could live in different floors, like the people I told you in Colombia. Like some people lived upstairs, some people lived downstairs.
Yeah.
So I think in like even that nuance like has a lot to do with how it
shared
ends
spaces,
up being. Yeah.
shared
Well, let's talk
spaces.
about that. When you were living with your in-laws, how was it situated for you guys?
So for us, we were in Tara's sister's old room, and it was her, myself, and Luca in the crib.
And you had a private bathroom. You had a bathroom that no one else shared.
Well, it was like the communal bathroom.
Yeah, the communal, but parents, it wasn't their master bathroom, like things like that, right?
Yeah, they didn't go in there. Yeah.
Okay,
But anybody
Other
that went to the
people,
house,
yeah.
they had
Yeah,
access to the
guest bathroom.
The guest,
Yeah,
I was like, what do you call that?
where am I looking?
I wouldn't call it a visitor
Communal
bathroom.
Visitor bathroom. The communal.
That sounds so much more disgusting for some reason.
That's family. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Jeez.
Yeah, so it looked like that. So the difficulty during that season was, I mean, the bottom line for me is living with my in-laws actually made me respect them more. I feel like I knew them one way, and then when I lived with them, I feel like I just like my respect for them just like went so much higher. Just the way they were just generous and their boundaries and just everything. They were just
And you had a communal kitchen, living room. You had no other.
Well,
you had no other private
this is the
space.
other thing,
You had
bro.
no other private space.
They will never say this because they're so gracious. Our crap was everywhere because we had all of our stuff, you know, stored so that we could go into the house we were going into.
Yep.
So our junk was everywhere, bro. It was like on their dining room table, on the floor, in the hall. Like it was like stressful for me to look at. It wasn't my house, and I was just like, oh,
The Buitrago household was just dumping
and it was
into
just
their
like
house.
so bad, bro. It was like baskets on top of baskets on top of baskets. Like it was just
No reason
it was,
baskets
It was
on- there's
chaos.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
that's their sacrifice.
And then look
Right.
at that's their
Yeah.
well, that and so much more,
Just-
right?
no,
Like it's
sure.
just like
You're opening up your whole home.
Yeah. Now
Right.
they did have their grandchild,
Right, their
which they
grandchild.
loved.
Yeah.
But that was also to finish all that. That was also during the time when Luca had a lot of reflux and had a lot of issues sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we couldn't escape the sleeplessness because we
Yeah.
were all cooped up in one room.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was real rough. Like
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
hard.
Which, how long were you there?
We were there from from October to March.
Okay.
So that
Yeah.
was
6
6
months.
months.
No,
yeah.
6 months. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what about?
Oh, I was gonna ask you. Go ahead. No,
Oh,
you're, yeah,
me?
yeah.
You want to go down the line?
what was my question?
Oh, he hasn't lived with
I haven't
anyone
made
yet.
the decision
Oh,
yet.
that's right.
Well,
That's right.
well,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
you
yeah.
Because of this. Yeah.
This may be you. You may be in my chair right now. So
That's good.
keep listening.
So we are. What was my question?
The question.
Oh, like how
situation,
yeah. What
yeah.
was it? What
Living
was it like? Yeah,
situation.
yeah.
Yeah, so we stay with my in-laws the first year and a few months of our marriage. Now we were fortunate; they have split bedroom floor plan, so their master bedroom is on the opposite side of the house,
Oh, great.
and ours was in the back. But again, we were in her sister's old bedroom with my
Oh.
wife's old furniture. So
Oh,
like we had
nice.
their high school furniture. Like talk about poor.
That's cute.
Poe couldn't even afford the other. Oh,
But we were
man.
married.
Hey.
Whoa.
And there's something about being newly married in
Doesn't
our
matter
high school
where you're at.
furniture.
High school furniture. Oh,
We come a long way.
But bro, so you got married
Yeah,
and you came back from honeymoon and went directly to your in-laws' house.
that's it.
Yep.
Oh,
Wow.
okay.
So that must have been an experience,
Oh, wow.
bro.
So now I will say the good thing about that, but the good thing about it is
Yeah.
we had nothing to compare it to.
Yeah,
that's true.
That's,
That's
that's
true.
different.
Right.
Because
So
you
we
both
didn't-
didn't live with each other. It
Correct.
was, yeah, everything.
I never
Oh,
really had
man.
my own place. I stayed with my
Yeah.
parents. She never had her own place. She stayed with her parents. So we had nothing to compare.
Yeah,
What
it's
that
like you
look
guys
like.
were college roommates.
Basically,
Yeah.
right?
Roomies.
That's fun.
But we were married. So, but we were on the opposite side of the house, right? We had our own
No kids
our
yet?
own bathroom, no kids
Oh
yet.
my god.
Yeah.
No kids yet.
Sign me up. Sign me
so
up
it
now.
was easy. But no, part of it was right paying off debt, tuition. Like that was the big goal. Like it's hard to buy. It was hard to buy a home back then.
Right.
And trying to pay off things, and I get it. But at the same time, we shared a living room. We shared a kitchen. You came home. You see your in-laws every day. It's interesting.
And you can't hide
You
Nope.
can hide.
because that's rude.
Correct.
I mean, you could. People are rude. So I
You
guess
just say
if-
you got to poop
if
for
you-
an hour,
but-
and just get out of it.
But as far as like a TV,
So let
like
me
we
know how
had,
Joey dealt
we
with
had to
that.
go buy our own TV to have our own living room in our bedroom,
right.
to have some space and privacy there, right?
Yeah.
So, but we also apparently loved staying with the in-laws because we came back a couple years later,
Oh, that's right. Part two.
right? So
Yeah, part two.
we left and we bought a townhome, and they were like, we should sell the townhome because we have this opportunity to build, and so let's sell it now because our house is going to be ready in a few months. And so we went to live with the in-laws.
Bro, the one time in my life procrastination helped me.
Yes, right? Yes.
Because we were building at the same time.
Yeah.
So our houses were coming up literally at the same
Yeah.
speed.
Yeah, we have videos,
And you
yeah.
sold how many months before I did? When did you sell?
5.
Oh my goodness.
5, 6 months, bro?
Yeah, probably 6 months.
What was it, like March or something?
March.
Like that? March of whatever.
2020.
And I sold in October.
Yeah.
And I told her, I was like, there's no, like, that's not going to this discomfort yet. Like, there's no point. And then, because you thought you were selling at the very peak of the market.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
I'm
then,
like,
bro,
this is it.
my
We'll
boy
get out
sold.
quick.
And then I was like, in natural Alejo fashion, I'm like, let's just do this later, Bro, 5 months later, the market's like,
Yeah.
Oh my
yeah.
God.
So building, I mean, everything, right?
Yes.
COVID is still happening, shipments and all
yeah,
that
yeah.
stuff. But anyway, so we weren't expecting to be there more than 6 months, maybe, tops. Year and a half. With kids this time.
Both or
kids?
just one?
Both kids.
Yeah, you had both
That's
of them.
right.
Yeah.
You had both,
Oldest
bro.
was a year and a half, and our youngest was 5 months, 4 or 5
But
months.
there was probably an additional room for them to sleep in together?
Yes.
Okay,
So
praise
again,
God.
split bedroom floor plan, right? And they each were able to have a bedroom separate and their own bathroom. So that was the beneficial. And right, in-laws.
You had it good. You had it good.
We had
Yeah,
it
that does
yeah,
sound
you,
kinda
you
nice.
had it
but
good.
at the same time, we had 202.
Yeah.
with in-laws.
And how many dogs?
Sleepless nights, and they had dogs.
They
Four
had
dogs. 4 golden retrievers.
Oh my gosh.
I still think you got it good though.
We still have
Because that additional room, that separation from your kids, I feel like that's
But
like
as,
Yeah, I get that.
as husband and dad and son-in-law, like there was no privacy.
Yeah,
Open
sure.
book, complete time. Like my only privacy was when I was in my car going to and from work.
Wow.
Right? Like,
And you want that, honestly, because I think about my kids. I have 3 and 5, but like you want to almost have that same privacy time because now you had already been in the townhome, and now you're coming into someone else's home to be like, all right, I want to have that quality time with my kids. Where now I can't because I'm surrounded by everybody. Grandparents want their attention.
Right.
I'm like, no, I would like to have some time with my kids and like be able to bond with them. And now I need to figure out how to do that in this confines.
That's if you like your kids,
but now
right?
I will say, like,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I mean, so people I imagine would like get home and be like, "Oh, you guys want to spend some time with my kids?" Like
I haven't seen them all
in-laws,
day.
like or grandparents. You got it,
Right, you
Cool.
got it?
Yeah.
Which that was actually
we have to
something that
point
you could
out
do.
too,
I was
like,
about to say
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was a
you-
big beneficial,
yep,
right?
that's
You had
true.
built-in babysitters.
Very true.
Yeah.
So
that
we
like
did-
it,
Correct.
Yes.
and I love them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we didn't take advantage of them, but it was like, hey,
And cheap? Did they
Can
charge?
you-
Were they cheap?
Can you watch them for the next 10 minutes?
Could you want to,
but it was.
Joey, what are you laughing at?
But we did. We took
I haven't gotten to me
we
yet.
took as many date nights as we could make happen just to
Yeah.
get out of the house and go.
That's great.
It was a win-win-win.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
Win, win, win.
Win,
So-
win, win.
Win-win-win.
Win,
In good
win,
office
win.
fashion.
Negotiation.
What about you, Joey?
Yeah, so my situation, I still had 2 siblings that were living there. We were living
2 of your sister, of your
yeah,
wife's
wife's
siblings.
siblings. So we technically their house is a 2-story. So all the common space is downstairs, and then upstairs is pretty much the bedrooms and not a little bit of common space, but pretty much just that's. You don't have common space up there. It's all bedrooms. Bathrooms, there were 2 bathrooms. So luckily the 2 siblings, the brothers, used the one bathroom, and then we were able to use the other bathroom. But we slept on an
What
air
about
mattress. Sarah was moved out.
She was
at that
moved
time.
out.
Yep,
Okay,
yep.
okay.
And so, literally it was Jeremy and Josh, and then us in Sarah's old bedroom on a air mattress.
sisters' bedroom.
Sisters'
Yeah.
bedrooms.
Yeah.
What? Because it would be weird if you came back to your wife's old bedroom.
What? I don't.
I mean, we slept
Wouldn't it be
in
a little
there.
weird?
It was actually that the fan the only reason we didn't stay in there is because the fan didn't work. It was way too hot in that room.
There you go.
Way too hot. Like AC barely was up there. So I'm like,
I mean,
no,
it's probably hot
dude.
in the other room. But I'm just joking.
We're all grown men here. All right, married
Well,
people.
no, what I was gonna say, all joking aside, I was gonna say it has to be pretty weird for siblings who like live with their sister
yeah.
to like see her come back with her husband to like
Yep.
live in a room knowing
How
what's
is that?
going on in
Yeah.
there, right? Like
Yeah.
that's gotta be a little strange.
Yeah.
And I think like speaking of like the rightness or like whether it's like the right thing or not to like live with your in-laws, like I feel like that intimacy, like sexual part, like if you really like look at it in context, it's kind of strange that like just go here with me for a second, that 2 couples might be having sex in the same house and that they have to like find their own intimacy in like different places and like
My own
you know what I
corner.
mean, like
Oh, no.
that's
Yeah.
just like a weird, does that make sense?
Yeah,
So like
that's right.
so I feel like that's one part that makes me go, maybe the co-dwelling is not super biblical. Maybe some sort of separation, like a wall or something, where like you really can have those moments separate. Because I even think back to that, and I don't know if you asked yourself this question, Joey, but I'm sorry I cut you off, dog. Please
keep
finish.
going. You're already.
No, no.
You're keep
No, I was
going.
gonna say. Sorry. Forgive me, please. What I was gonna say is, I asked myself this question as a man. I asked myself the question, was that the right thing to do? Mm-hmm. Not that I regret it or I'm
Right.
like sad about it or something, but I do like ponder, just for the sake of like just learning like God's ways. Like, was that the right thing? Was it the right thing to go and like cleave to her parents again? Is that an okay thing since we had like a date? I told my wife that because we had a date in the future in mind about our house being finished, that it was different than us just like going there to just
Right.
be,
Correct.
Right.
And
that's
So-
where I
sorry,
think.
please finish.
No, I think that's something a little bit big, for my opinion. It's
Yeah.
like we were going there as a step to take a step. Like, I'm not going there because, I want to just use and abuse the house, not pay rent, not do anything.
You lost a job.
Yeah,
like
even
I
in
think
that
that's worth
world,
talking about.
Like,
Right?
I think there's moments of like, if you lose your job and your house and you need to get out of debt and like things like that, like, hey, like, and your in-laws are willing to take you in, or your parents are willing to take you in. The blessing is you have that relationship enough to be able to ask. I think that's big, right? Like, you be able to have an actual like conversation with your parents, be like, hey, we need some help. I think that takes humility, right? But then also on the factor of like taking the step of like, hey, I know, can you guys support us for X amount of time so then we can take the next step? I think that's another conversation. But then there's the other conversation of just like, I'm just going to hang out here, not pay rent, not bring anything quote unquote to the table. I'm just going to use your house, use your electric, use your water, and just because I'm your kid and now I'm married. Like, I think those are like very different mindsets. And I believe most of us, again, you're planning to go back because of your mother-in-law's health.
Yeah.
You're not going back there because of financial reasons.
Yeah.
You didn't go in with your in-laws because of financial reasons. It was to take the next step for you to be able to move on. You didn't go back because I just want to go to my in-laws so I get out. Like, you went back because of the next step. It's funny because it's similar with me in the condo. Like, I didn't have to move out of the condo. I had an incredible condo that I was like, I didn't want to leave. Like, but it was just like,
your condo was awesome.
Dude, I'd buy that thing in a heartbeat if I somehow could.
Hey, remember that screen door you walked through?
Oh yeah, you remember that door? Yeah, that was a glorious moment. I wish I had a freaking security camera for that,
Bro, that was
like a gnat.
That had to be like collectively the moment when we've laughed the hardest.
Oh, dude, I cried.
Right? Like,
I cried.
Because remember, all of our wives were there.
Oh yeah.
We were all just
It was for
bro.
Stephanie's 21st, and we were all just hanging out. And sorry, Agostini, you weren't there.
That sounds rough,
living
though.
in spirit.
So sorry.
He hit this screen like a gnat.
It was nighttime.
He was
It was
walking
nighttime,
out.
so it was a screen door that was closed, and I was walking with purpose, bro. And it caught me like a freaking butterfly.
Wait, it was you?
Yeah.
Yes.
It would happen to you?
Yes.
Oh, I literally thought it happened to Joey. That's
No.
funny.
No,
I was like,
my
who's
dude's
happening
spider webbed. He went, got frozen
boink.
there. Yeah, it was funny.
Anyway.
But I think that's a really big importance regarding this whole conversation of like understanding, even as the husband, the heart behind it. Because again, we weren't going there to, like you said, to go cleave to them again. I don't think any of us were going to cleave to them again. I think we were going there as like, hey, will you support us, or can we take this opportunity as we take the next step type of thing. Like, I wasn't releasing all of my like, hey, I can't do anything else. I'm not going to work. I'm not going to pay rent. I'm not going to support. I'm not going to clean. Like that's a very different heart, at least in my mind. Because again, I know some people that it's like, I'm just going to go and live there just to live there. You know? And I'm like, man, I really think for the sake of your marriage, for the sake of your family, like, go take the next step.
Well,
it may cost you something. Yep. You may not get all the comforts. You might not have the 2024 car. You might not have the nicest insurance. You might not have the nicest townhouse. Like, you might have to go buy different things. You might have to go do, and like, that's just part of the life, that we got to live. And, but yeah, so I think out of that, like, the weirdest thing for me was, like, I really am a big commonplace person of like, I like to just hang. And so like the idea that like the kitchen and downstairs is like the kitchen and the living room is like the commonplace. And my in-laws were the ones building my house at the same time, which was keeping me in the house as long as it took for them to build it.
So you're like, do you understand?
So I'm like,
the longer you
do
build,
you
the
want
longer
me
I
to
stay.
continue to stay here? Move faster. And I had a puppy. And I had a puppy.
Which they loved.
But I still had a puppy that's peeing and pooping.
I was going to say, so I don't know if you guys remember how it felt, but I hated sitting in my father-in-law's house.
Oh, yeah. I
did not want my butt to touch a seat, bro. Because, you got now that I'm a girl dad, I feel like I understand just how much of a desire I have for like my son-in-law to care for my daughter, right? Like I want a man who is not going to be passive, lazy, like all those different things. Like, that's important for me, that like it's a man that will be an example to my grandchildren, like all of that, right? So that was even a factor why I didn't want to live with them. Right. That was one of the factors where like I was like, but I will tell you this, I was trying to think about it. I was like, would it have been less weird to live with my parents no, bro, it would have been so much more weird to live with my parents. I don't know why.
Really?
I couldn't tell you the reason why, but it would have been really strange.
Well, and
right?
now we didn't share this, and now your mother's been living with you for
Yeah, that's for a different. That's for a
year
little
or two.
later. Yeah.
A year or two now.
Yeah, a year or two.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but that's
we'll get to that.
But that is crazy. That's
but
a
her
whole
living
nother
with me is
perspective.
different than us living with her.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
But anyway, so like, given that, like, you know, we're all man, right? And we lived, us three lived in our in-laws' home, where our father-in-law. I mean, that's the figure of the father-in-law is
Right.
like
Oh yeah.
a figure, right?
100%.
Like, you have this like honor and disrespect, this respect, not disrespect, but
Yeah.
this respect for him. You want to in a healthy way prove yourself to your father-in-law,
100%.
like, you know, all those different things. So I remember like
It can be
being there.
intimidating.
Yeah. I remember being there, bro, and like I used to tell Tara, I'm like, T, like, I'm not gonna get home and like sit on the couch. I can't do that. Like I'm not gonna like go in the middle of the day and like grab lunch with you, honey. I'm sorry, but like I'm gonna be out working. Like I can just go and like hang out on your dad's couch
It's so funny.
while I'm living in his house.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
every second that I have should be very productive in his home, just out of honor. You know what I mean?
Like,
Like, I
was,
was
no,
like,
I can
was he
see
blue
that.
collar?
You know what I mean?
Like,
Like,
I can see that.
was he blue
Yeah.
collar kind of guy? Like,
he is.
Oh, yeah,
He
yeah,
is.
yeah. Like
But I feel
mornings
like it would
and
be with
night, like-
anybody. Like if so, I'm gonna flip the scripts. If my son-in-law was living in my house,
Yeah.
as a step, I would hope in a position where he is vulnerable and his family does not, let's call it, maybe they don't have what they should have in that season, right? Because
Yeah.
they, you know what I mean. I would want to see a very obvious initiative from
Yes.
his side.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And if I don't see that, then I would kind of begin to like doubt what is this about? Like,
Yeah.
are you just giving
Yeah.
yourself an out,
Right.
a break?
Yes.
You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
like because I hate to
Yeah.
say, not hate to say it, it's just a reality. Like, you don't get breaks. Like life is just like it keeps going. Right now, you get breaks because God is gracious and like
Yeah.
He gives you people to lend a hand. But at the same time, I think that like there's a way in which you can be passive and lazy and kind of take advantage of situations as a man, and I don't think that honors God, right? So I feel like I constantly dealt with that. Like I dealt with this. Like I just want, even in my heart, like I wanna know that I'm doing everything that I need to do so that we can be in our home like as soon as
100%.
possible, and
Yeah.
like, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Does
Well,
that make sense? What I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a question because I was thinking about, well, what about if you, because I know we're talking about leaving cleaving, like what if you're both consensual adults, like your parents and you want
I
to.
thought you were talking about you and your wife.
Sorry, yeah.
I'm like,
I
hopefully.
use the word consensual. I'm saying like both sides, if your in-laws and you both want to get a house together, like what does that look like? Where you're not coming into their house, they're not coming to yours, but like you're both getting a house together and like
Right.
creating a new culture, a new part, like a partnership of like we're gonna live
Right.
together. Like what does that even look like? I know maybe we don't even really understand that, but
Yeah.
I've been trying to think about that as
Yeah.
like in the future because I don't know what the future holds, and
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
about my in-laws and my parents getting older. I'm like, I don't
Right.
want to put them in a home, like
Right.
that's expensive.
Yeah, you and I
that's-
talked about that. Yeah.
That's
yeah.
why you have
So-
mother-in-law. You have mother-in-law suites, mother-in-law
Yeah.
apartments.
Yeah, which is the big
mother-in-law,
thing right now in age.
Yep.
Yeah. I think in general, I think that's a like we kind of talked in the beginning. I think it's a cultural thing, but also I think it starts with boundaries and how you communicate with each other. Like if you really can have healthy communication in a way that you can communicate when you're angry in a healthy way, and like it's not an explosion. It's not a lack of emotional maturity, but you guys can be real, you can be transparent, you can be honest. Hey, these are the boundaries we need, and this is why we need them. Hey, please don't come busting into our room at any time of the day. Please respect X. Hey, this section
Yeah.
of the house, can you just can we I know, especially if you're buying a house together, that's a whole nother conversation.
I
But
think-
whenever you
yeah.
step into this is their home, there's this level of like submission that at least I would say I felt, where I was like, I'm gonna submit this, where I know this is my space. If you could just give me 10 by 10 where I could just have a little bit of
Yeah,
privacy, that would be great. Give me this 10 by 10. And I'm gonna clean, I'm gonna help, I'm gonna I'm never gonna make you feel
Yeah, it's
like
the
I'm a
honor.
burden.
Yeah.
I'm gonna honor that place. But then if you're trying to buy a place, now you're going into this agreement of hey, this is ours. how do we? And that comes, dude. Like I think of even the aspect of other cultures.
That can be very confusing.
Yeah, and like
honestly,
so I know a couple guys that like they bought a house with their family, and it was like the communication and like chores and like just normalcy, the things that like mowing grass. So do you do or do I?
Yeah.
Who edges? You or me? Who sprays for weeds? Me or you? Who takes out the trash? Who does dishes? My wife, your wife, me, you. Like who?
Now I will say that was part of our thing. Like we're like, hey, you're blessing us with living here rent free. We got the dishes. I got mowing the grass. If you need your car washed, I'll wash your car. We'll take the garbage out. Like we'll make dinner.
Good son-in-law.
Do you want to live with me?
No.
But I mean, it pretty much is. Pretty much, you just build a little awning and.
Let's talk. If you guys, if it's all right, let's talk about like our market right now is insane. High prices. It's hard. Yeah, right. Not that we're in real estate or anything.
No, there's 3 real estate agents sitting on these days.
It's hard. I mean, it's difficult there for.
That's a plot twist right there.
Can we see the shirt? Can we see the shirt?
If that's not the most elaborate ad we have ever prepared.
$300.
If you need a house.
If you need a house.
Choose the better looking of the.
Choose the most dedicated.
Oh my God.
Just kidding. I'm kidding.
I mean,
But seriously, like, the market's high right now. Not even young couples. There's people all over.
Yeah. No 30, 40-year-olds that can't do it.
That just can't afford this cultured income. I don't mean it's income. It's just.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's a bunch of people out there right now.
So culturally, it's weird to think about. Culturally, like economics and finances are going to begin to shift.
Hold the phone.
The
question.
Culture. What?
Answer.
What are houses considered? When you look them up on the MLS, what are they called?
Single family homes.
Single family homes. That's very interesting. I've never thought about that. And they're made
so
for
it's multi-family.
single family.
Well, they have
Well, no,
multi-family
like if you think about that, multi-family
like divorced
home.
families?
Yeah, I mean, divorced families one has too, right? But like single family homes, like or duplexes, they're multi-family homes, like where they have multiple living spaces and et cetera. To where it's like it is interesting. Even our culture, even how we build our houses are single family. It is mom, dad, their kids. That's it.
Yep.
Well, you know, they say that like the whole like house owning thing was like something that like the banks,
after the World War,
you know, that thought about the people that wanted to make money out of interest. You know, they were considering what's a way to get more people owing money, right? And they thought, oh, well, the American dream, you know, owning a home,
white picket fence.
That's gonna get white picket fence. You know, buy your house. Make sure that you have. This is a bad thing to say as real estate agents here on the podcast. This is
great job.
This
Ignore
is the
everything
most
you're saying.
You want truth?
Marketing. No, but
no, it's true though. It's true.
But realistically speaking, like so that now every person has a mortgage, and they're paying interest to the banks, right? Yep. So that's an interesting. Like, so I'll give you an example. Like in Colombia, owning a house is like, that's like.
Does it all rent there?
Yes, it's mostly rent. Yeah.
So then who like owns all of it?
People like the upper middle class owns the properties,
and then the lower middle class are the ones that rent
and then they just rent. It's like cars. Most people don't own cars in Colombia. They rent. So it's like, so culturally, you know, that's one of the other things that like really enrich you when you see different places in the world, right? Like we think the United States way is the only way. Get married, go move away, you know, get your own car, your own house, like, you know, live far away enough that you don't see each other that much, whatever, you know?
Yeah. Well, and don't get me wrong. There's some people that are like, I don't have a great relationship with my family. Like, I think we were talking about that once where it was
but should that be the reason you move away?
Right. But no, that's what I'm saying. There's some people that like they want to move because they don't have a great relationship with family. And so they want to separate because they want to build a boundary. And this is the thing. My parents and then my grandparents, that's why they did things, was because of manipulation, because of people trying to control them, where it was actually a little bit more of a culture, like be close, live on the property, live on the land, and it was used as manipulation and control. Yeah, it was a control. It was a, if you don't live here, you're almost disowned.
Ooh, so now we step into the question of, so the context, you know, you get married, now you live where we all live, right? So who bears the control, right? That's a great question to ask because I think part of what naturally ought to happen whenever not ought to happen, again, this is very culturally nuanced, but let's say in a community where the oldest person is the person like makes the decisions,
Right.
and everybody submits under that, you know, like that's very much how people used to live, bro.
Right.
Yeah,
You know,
firstborn.
like the oldest person, like was the wisest person. They made the decisions. Everybody else submitted and they did what they said, and then eventually that person was gonna die, so it wasn't gonna be forever. And then the next person kind of took whatever, right? Now we live in this culture where like I personally think that there has to be that separation of authority, right? Where like of course like my father-in-law was my wife's authority up to the point we
Right.
got married, and then I received that authority and I carry that and nurture it, and right. And so in the context of like living in the property of like your parents, you know, let's say in the example of your parents that they you know they want everybody to be there. Is it biblical to live in a place where you surrender the control to an older guy or woman?
Well, what was interesting,
And-
it was like 50 acres, and they gave them acreage. When they hit 18, they all had acreages on that acreage.
Probably with strings attached too, though.
Because it's family. And so like there's this stuff that like is just so interesting. And so, you know, you see the beauty of it. And this is I've learned this too just in life. The grass isn't always greener on the other side, it's just greener where you water it. And on top of that, it's like what everything has its negative and positive. Everything does. And so going up and living up there, you have family. You're on 50 acres. You're next to your loved ones. You're next to these people. It was given to you. Like all these like, oh, check. But then it's like, okay, but is this what I want for my family? And not just that, is this how the Lord is telling me to lead my family? And so like my parents moved down to Florida. My dad, tired of the weather of Maryland and other stuff that was going down, it was like, let's just go down there, you know, and move down here. And if he didn't, I would not know you. I was born and raised in Florida. I don't know any other state other than me visiting it. And
Yeah,
like,
you're still a Steelers fan.
still
How
a
dare
Steelers
you?
fan. I mean, Tampa's right there, but you know, Steelers. It's
No,
love
it's
blood.
interesting because if you hear a lot right now, one of the biggest dreams for a lot of these young families is what?
To move north.
To move north, Tennessee, Georgia,
Right.
go
To move
get
to the
a
country.
whole bunch of land
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
do
yeah.
a compound, and
Yeah.
not us. We have our
Yeah.
own compound.
Yeah, I already did.
Lucky.
But that's like their dream to go start like a homestead and
Yeah.
to get back into that. Like
But it's not with family though.
I have a
Some
lot
is
of
with
them.
friends.
Really?
I have a lot
Yeah.
of them with
Yeah, and
families.
some is with families. Yeah.
I think that's coming back, but I think honestly, man, like, do you think COVID had a lot to do with that?
Ooh. Yeah.
Do you think
I
like
think it
that
could've,
time when
yeah.
we like realized how much like the corporate and like just career world had us, and then individuality and all that stuff, and then we like had to be home with our families, and then we like there was like a mass exodus from like people's like careers and like
Yeah.
jobs, and then like do you think that has? I think
I'm
it has to
sure.
do with a lot what's going on and
I'm
how
sure.
people are prioritizing.
Well, and I think there
family.
is government stuff in people where it's like control and fear
Let's
and
say
like
the
and like
freedom.
from food to like just there's so much that happens. So much goes into decisions that sometimes we don't give it credit that like, oh yeah, do you realize you did make that decision because of why? Well, no, but you did. Like, you know, talking to my dad about moving Maryland, I was like, so was it only the weather? And he was like, I mean, the weather did have a huge part of it. I was tired of snow above my head working in a steel shop, you know, like I just was. But then there was some other stuff that was happening that kind of just added a like almost a clog on the wheel or whatever it's considered, like where it's like, I think my family needs to like shift, you know, and so there's so much to it, but yeah,
Now, I will say, I think COVID has opened up the door to a lot of home working, mobile working, work from anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Like that's opened
Yeah.
up everywhere. And
Yeah.
so it's given a lot of husbands, wives that are working that flexibility now to go, okay, I can work from home. I don't have to travel anywhere, and I can now
Right.
be a stay-at-home parent.
right. I can
Right?
make just as much, and yeah.
So now that
Yeah.
we have that flexibility, can I move? Can we go do something else?
Yeah.
Right. Or why don't we live in the country?
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
don't we
Right.
live up here? You
By
know?
the way, I just heard that Dominican Republic has these like crazy, like new apartments for like $250,000. Great investment, Airbnb-able, and we could go live there for a year if we work remotely. I'm just putting it out there. Anyway,
Or we can just go to Italy and buy a house for €1.
€1.
I'm not
fix it
kidding
up.
you. There really is €1.
Because you're
Oh, yeah.
Italian.
Okay. Anyway, so
I'm going to Italy. You don't want to come?
So what's something we can like encourage?
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
People who are in this.
yeah. If you're in the situation,
Yeah, right.
Well,
Well,
how about
actually, I
this?
have a
I was about to
question.
say, what questions do you
Yeah,
have?
so
like before you go into it.
Because I know you talked about Joey about with living with your in-laws and like siblings there. Like, what
Yeah.
was that? How was that with siblings? Because I feel like it might be different with just in-laws versus having siblings involved. So
Yeah.
I'm curious to see how the difference is.
I mean, one thing for sure, he wins in the factor of having kids, like
Yeah.
double kids and all that, which is very similar to you. But you know, I had siblings. I think one of the things is understand, like my
He
siblings.
says he wins. Like we're competing.
Well, no. Like he might be able to. He might be able to.
You
like,
had it worse. There you
like
go.
like
Yeah.
compare.
Well, 'cause,
he
like,
could, he'd
yeah.
be more
I'm
comparable.
messing with you.
I'm
know.
a triple threat right now. So
yeah,
I
you're
got,
triple threat. You have
my
all of
in-laws, I got 2 kids, and I have siblings
Yeah.
all in one house.
Yeah, all in one house. So you
Are
win.
you, are you trying to? Do you want more attention,
I
bro?
think
Is
that's
that
what
what
you're
this is
trying to do.
about?
It's my first time on the podcast with you guys.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. One thing that was awkward for me was the fact that my brother-in-law is literally door to door. We were literally a hallway away from each other.
Shh, be quiet, honey.
Yeah. And just like that is just strange. And he's a grown kid, you know? Like he was, I think he was 17
He's
when we
a
moved in
grown
there.
kid.
He was 17. Like he's
That's
like
a grown man.
almost
yeah.
an adult.
18. He's not almost an adult when we moved in. And if I remember correctly, he was
When you
17.
say grown kid, I think
He's
of
a
like a
grown kid.
9-year-old.
Oh my gosh. Not for me. Maybe you were a grown kid at 9. I wasn't. But that was strange. And then, you know, my other brother-in-law was right down the hallway, you know? And so, like, that was very different for me. It was like that
Yeah.
type of communication. Like, all of my siblings were upstairs and my in-laws were downstairs. So, like, that's not weird for me. The weird part was my siblings are literally like over there. And so the difficulty for me was like the communication. Luckily we had a separate bathroom. So like that was like peaceful for me to where I was like, okay. But I kind of had a total of 20 feet. Like 20 feet by 20 feet, that was like mine. And so I could like leave, you know, laundry or toothbrush, like stuff is in there.
You know
and
what
like,
came to mind? You know,
like,
when Michael starts his new company and they have corners.
oh, that's literally that is literally what it felt like. Because we had all of our stuff too.
well,
So-
we have to establish our P corners.
Right. And so literally like I had all of our stuff in our house. Like that's why we slept on an air mattress.
Yeah,
We couldn't get a bed up there
Yeah.
because we had boxes all over the rooms and their garage was covered with our stuff and downstairs was covered in our stuff. And so it's just like the movie room was full of stuff. And so it's like it was just everywhere. And so for me, it was definitely communication, man. Like just having the conversation, and also as silly as it sounds, but also just not making it awkward. Like the reality of it that I live in your house, I'm married to your sister. We're grown-ups.
Yeah.
Like
Or I'm married to your daughter.
Yeah, I'm married to you daughter.
You know what we're doing.
Yeah, like how do you want future
You just made
grandbabies?
it awkward, bro.
Yeah,
You know what we're
like do you want grandbabies? You want me to practice making perfect?
Why
all
would you
right?
ever have to have that conversation? I'm married to your sister.
Well, you're definitely not gonna talk. You're not gonna just speak about it like that. But that's
Hey,
like
you
that's
start a conversation.
You know that's what it.
Oh,
you
absolutely.
know. You know.
Absolutely.
They
Joey,
know.
Joey, let's have a grown-up conversation right now.
Dude,
I'm married to your sister.
Married to your sister. Well, because guess what? I also had. It's actually really interesting. My brother-in-law lived with us for years before they were
right.
married.
Yeah.
And like the amount of trust my dad had for like. That's a whole nother conversation. Like
Yeah.
living
That's
downstairs.
we need to have a conversation
Oh,
about
That's a
that,
whole nother
bro.
one.
Because that's
And-
like, yeah,
That's a heavy
it
no.
wasn't,
Be like,
and he
no,
wasn't just
no,
he wasn't
no,
just
no.
the first boy. My dad had
that's right.
like a couple guys live with us that were all my sisters, and it's so funny looking back. I'm like,
What do you mean that they were your sisters?
so my Rachel had a boyfriend that lived with them, and then
Dang, bro.
and then Danielle had 2 guys live with us for a season, and like separate and all that. And so yeah, Josh was from PA. The other guy, if I remember, was from Tennessee, and I'm just like. Man, and my dad, that's probably why nothing happened. You know, my
Okay.
dad, you of all people.
I don't know, bro. That's a conversation for a different day.
I don't know.
That's a
hard
conversation
one.
for a different
Bro,
day.
is.
this thing.
But
Wow.
It is awkward.
my dad's
Yeah.
right. Like, but
It's
my
just-
dad's office is right there. They're sleeping next to the rooms. All of our rooms are upstairs. They slept downstairs, so it's 3 flight of steps. Like all these things.
In the den?
In the den. You know that house. And so, but no, I still go like, I don't know if I could trust. I don't think I could. As much as I trust
Yeah.
No,
my
100%
daughter.
no. Yeah.
I know.
But
I know.
at the same time, I know us as humans, but my dad did it, you know? And so it's wild. That's a whole nother perspective of things.
Yeah.
But
I'm not ready for that.
no
bucket of worms.
But man, but my dad felt the leading. It wasn't just a fly by the hip, come on, live with the house. It was like, come on. Like he was led by the Lord with these guys. And I'm like, my gosh, I want to kick you. And so that's a whole nother thing. So so that side of things with living as boyfriends or etc., that's crazy to me. But as husbands and wives, like in reality, like we're grown-ups here. You handed her away or you handed me away, etc. And it's like the conversation is like, like that intimacy is gonna happen. But it's still just the weirdest part is I think with siblings.
Weird. That's weird, by the way. Like I mean, like if you really put yourself in the father position,
right?
I don't think I could hang with that, bro, for too long. You know what I mean? Like I just couldn't. Like it's my daughter. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
just get out.
I know
my
you're
house.
her husband and like all that stuff, but like just go do that somewhere else.
So
like,
it's actually kind of funny you're talking about that because
not here.
One thing we haven't really talked about is the other side of perspective of
right?
what are our in-laws thinking? Because
yeah.
my father-in-law, because we've been in talks about this, and so he's still kind of struggling with accepting us. Not like in a bad way, of course, where he's like, of course, you're my kids. Of course, I'm gonna let you in. But he's like wrestling
does he
with
pretend
this.
like you guys are not married?
Yeah, exactly. He's
You
like,
do not
"Who's
have
this
two
guy?"
grandbabies.
What are you doing?
La 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 la.
But he struggles with the fact of like, okay, I'm about to let in 4 people in my home, and I love them to death. But like now, my world's changing. Where of course, and especially I don't know if all of our father-in-laws are like this, but like my father-in-law like works from like early morning to like late night, like so he's working all day. So
his
like,
house is his safe.
That is his place. Like he wants to go to the living room
place
and
of
like
rest.
and so now I got 2 kids that don't know how to be quiet,
which are grandbabies, which I love.
Yes, but they also know they need their own. They need to get quiet time.
Let's be honest, grandmas probably all about it.
Oh my gosh.
Yes,
grandpas.
Yeah.
They probably want some break.
Yeah, because guess what? If we put ourselves in that same situation, I probably go, I'd probably want some space too. You know, like if I put myself into it.
I put myself in this situation, I probably would love to be with my grandchildren. I'm just being honest. Like if that was me, I would be like, I'd be so excited to spend time with them.
But with my daughter,
yeah,
I wouldn't mind my son in my home if I have a son. But when it's my daughter, like you said, all right, it's my daughter. Go and do another place. But if my son, I'm like, you're good. Come on, dude.
Right.
Like it's just funny. Like it's funny how like even that perspective.
Well, it's
like,
there's this protection. There's this protection, and I think that's a normal. I think that's normal and it's good for us, right? Because we need that kind of pressure from our father-in-laws.
Right.
We need it. We need it because these pressures are what make people men,
it's
right?
Guidance in a way.
It's like, for example, like I knew I could never, ever ask my father-in-law if I could go live with Tara without first marrying her.
Right.
Yeah.
That was it.
That's a whole nother world.
I didn't even have to ask her about it. I didn't have to ask him about. Like I just knew. Like you're gonna marry my daughter, and you're gonna do a good job when you marry her. Like you're not just gonna like marry her so you can go live together.
You're gonna learn how to
like,
smoke ribs.
Oh jeez.
You're gonna learn how to smoke pork tenderloin.
We need father-in-laws like Moses' father-in-law.
Jethro.
Yeah, that guy was the goat, man.
Yeah.
What didn't he like bless him with stuff? I forgot how that whole relationship happened.
There's a lot to it.
Oh, you want stuff?
Just give me some stuff.
I know he got his daughter and all that, but like I know he got a lot of other stuff. But
doesn't the word of God say
when
like
my father-in-law's like this, I just like give us some stuff, dog. Because like it's hard out here.
It's hard out here, bro.
It's getting harder.
Hard out here, bro.
Take care of me, Dad.
I'm messing, man. No, I honestly, I feel like I'm just really grateful. I'm really grateful for the pressure of father-in-laws, bro.
Oh yeah.
I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah, the amount of stuff that like I grew in, like in that like I remember. Can you guys remember the day you had the conversation, asking for her hand?
Oh yeah.
Do you remember the place? Do you remember that?
You don't want to hear
this story.
Okay.
I'll say you don't want to hear this story.
Really quick. Let's very quickly. I can tell like very quick. Where was it? So mine? We were laying brick on the front of their house.
It's always doing something.
Stephanie just left, and her mom made a joke to me. If you're gonna talk to him, now's a good time to talk to him. And I'm like,
well done,
how
Mom.
do you even know that I'm in the process praying through like when I can? Because I had the ring, I had like all this stuff, and I was just like, I just need the time with Steve, my dad, and so I'd always be doing projects with him, and so was starting to lay brick with him, and I'm like, holy crap, I just got to do it. And so I ended up having the conversation there. Okay, so that was like when mine was in the front of her house.
On a scale from 1 to 10, how nervous were you?
Oh, bro, I was like a 9.
Yeah.
And just even though I knew he was probably gonna say yes.
Yeah.
What a forgive me. I don't mean this in a ugly way. But what a testicle growing moment.
Oh yeah.
There you go. Become a man.
For a guy to become a man.
Go grab your
it
cojones.
is.
To go to a grown man.
100%. Not just a grown
Yeah.
man.
Not just a grown man.
Her father.
No, yes, a grown man who has cared for this girl his entire
Yeah.
life.
Sacrifice.
And
Yeah.
to ask him to be able to go and take her.
Oh, yeah.
And you were pretty much
for
saying
free?
it like
Yeah.
this,
Bro, I'm telling you right now.
Actually,
Yeah.
he's gonna pay you because
Yeah.
he's gonna pay for the freaking wedding. And so, bro, I'm gonna.
Bro, I'm telling you, where's the
Snap things
dowry
here.
at? Where's the dowry at?
bro,
You gotta give me some cows,
snap
bro.
things here.
I
Snap some
was
things.
watching a video recently. It was a dad giving away his daughter at a
Oh.
wedding.
It's
an Asian
I know which one
man.
it is.
It's an Asian man.
I know which one this
Yep,
is.
yeah, yeah.
And
100%.
he says this. He's at the altar and he says,
100%.
"If you ever change your mind," he's weeping, bro,
Yeah.
telling his son-in-law this at the altar.
Yeah.
If you ever change your mind, please don't hurt her. Please just bring her back to me.
Yeah. Bro.
Bro.
It is.
And I remember when I watched
That's
this, I was
before
in
you
the
even had
laundry
Selah.
room, bro. I just happened to scroll to it. I'm weeping in the laundry room, right?
It's before you had Selah too, if I remember correctly.
No. I had Selah.
You
I had,
sure?
Yes. I had
'Cause
Selah
I-
was a
it
baby.
was with Nova.
Selah was a baby.
Yeah,
and the reason why I remember is I know it was because
Yeah.
there was another thing that
Okay.
was going on. But
Yeah.
but it's such a. Also, the reason why I said that is because I watched that video, bro, and I realized. I mean, let's go back to the day you got married to your wife.
Can we fast forward to that in a second? Can we first answer the question of us talking to people?
Oh yeah, we.
sorry.
We
Because
We
jumped
gotta
on
skip this and then we'll
that.
jump
This
to
was
that.
good.
Because he was talking about commitment and communication.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Like, so where'd I
Where-
ask my father-in-law?
Yeah.
Yeah, what was it?
Gas station.
Gas
Oh, this is
station.
the craziest thing. So,
My
dude, you're like, how? Why? So my
He wasn't
father-in-law.
proposing. He was talking to his father-in-law.
Dude,
Gas station is
no,
the perfect
no.
place to do it.
My father-in-law was going to go get his car cleaned at a gas station. Literally, I did not know he was at this gas station. I did not know where he was that day. Literally, I was somewhere, and literally, I pull into the same gas station as him. This is crazy. And so, literally, I'm like, what are you doing here? I'm like, he's like, playing my car. I'm like, I was just actually about to get gas here, like, blah, blah. So, literally, I had the ring on me the whole time. I've had it just in my pocket, like in my car, like, just literally, because I'm like,
Burn a hole.
it's burning
Burn
in my
a
head,
hole,
just burn.
bro.
I'm like,
Burn a
and I'm
hole.
like, now's the time. And I'm
Now's
like,
the time.
And so I was like, hey, like, I know you're literally vacuuming your car right now, but can we talk for like 2 seconds? Like, I was like telling him, I love your daughter, and I know this is real, dude. I'm not lying.
Come on.
So,
I love
and,
it.
like,
all in your body.
literally, like, he was like overcome with joy. It was crazy. Like, he
Come
was like,
on, man.
when are we planning it? Like, he's like about to plan the whole
awesome.
thing.
What a
It was
gift,
really
dude.
cool
I love
moment.
I did not have that.
Dude, I'm sorry. Maybe you should
So
have gone
great
first.
for you. So happy for you.
But honestly, that's amazing.
But dude,
bro.
it was a
Yeah.
beautiful moment,
Yeah.
and like he was like so excited, like he was like ready to plan the whole thing. He's like, "What are we gonna do?
Wow.
What's the date? What are you thinking?" Like I'm like, I haven't
And
gotten
you're
that far
like,
yet.
I'm marrying your daughter, not you.
yeah, yeah. But it was,
Bro, there's some dads that are like, yes, I'm
Yes.
gonna sign.
yeah,
Pete.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah.
so it was exciting.
I mean, I couldn't imagine Pete being. I couldn't imagine the experience of Pete being difficult at all.
Well, no, but at that same time, like I don't know him. I didn't know him then, like I do now.
Yeah.
And their last name, right? Man.
Right.
You're literally talking to Mr. Man.
Mr.
Yeah.
Man.
Mr. Man.
Can I marry your
Can I
daughter,
take your
Mr.
last name?
Man?
Mr. Man. Bro.
I did. I asked him that. I asked Sarah. I said, "Can I take your last name?"
That'd be pretty cool.
How cool is
I
that?
want to be
Mr.
your
Chris
man.
There's country songs made out of you. You know?
Come on. We
But
could
no,
be
we were-
millionaires.
We were. he was-
Nothing more unmanlike than
Dude, yeah.
unmanning her,
And
literally.
he's a mechanic. The guy works on cars,
that's
so
awesome.
he like. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, awesome.
Were you working on a car while you asked him?
Bingo. Come on,
man.
man.
Wait,
Come
you
on,
were?
son.
Come on, dude.
Come on, son.
You got to.
That's awesome.
You
that
gotta
is the
meet him
most
when there is.
Hollywood. That's the most
He is-
Hollywood moment.
He is
way.
working. We're under the hood of a car.
And that's the least
in their-
Hollywood moment.
in their driveway.
Yeah.
What's so funny? What's
gas
so funny is that you were at a gas station.
can you
cleaning that.
imagine?
I'm literally helping my builder of a father build stuff.
That's
You're
fun.
helping your mechanic of a
Yeah.
father be mechanic. Were you out
Yeah.
mowing
I
yards?
was in the barn.
Wow!
Come on. We're
Look
smart
at
cookies.
that.
Yeah, bro.
We're not.
Whoever's
we're not
watching
dumb.
this, take some notes if you're
Take
about to
some
ask
notes, take
the
some
woman
notes.
of your dreams to
Find
marry
the
you.
man where he is.
That's
it.
And you humble yourself.
Now,
That's
keep going. Can continue.
Keep going. Keep going.
Good.
So we were under the hood of this car, and ring burning the hole in my
Yep,
pocket.
yep.
Go ahead,
Same
say
thing,
it. What are you
bro.
gonna say?
Bro. What is happening
I
right
said
now?
under the hood of a car.
Oh, no. Okay.
Sorry.
So I'm like, this is it. I said, this is the time. And so I said, hey, I gotta ask you something. He goes, you're gonna ask me. I said, yes, I am. He goes, I think it's awesome. I'm like,
You didn't even ask.
He's like,
I said, wait.
He's like, I was just going to ask if I should get 22
That's how
rims.
easy it was.
I was just
I'm like,
asking
what's
if I
for dinner?
get 22 rims on the car.
so think we're
You're
having
writing a blank
chicken?
check? Great. No,
So you never said the words?
no, I did. I had to. You have to.
Oh,
you have
okay,
to. Because
okay.
this is
Oh my
this is
gosh.
what we're made of.
I was gonna
like
say.
this is our reaching.
No, because some people would have been
manhood.
like, okay, cool.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but yeah. He wasn't
awesome.
as like enthusiastic. It was more so, I love it. All right, so back to the car.
Oh my gosh.
But
Yeah.
That's such a Pete
That's
way
funny.
of
Yeah.
saying that. Yeah.
Whoa.
sweat.
but sweaty
Oh,
in
yeah.
all levels.
Soggy hands.
Oh, yeah. Just like, and what's so funny,
Ooh.
let's be honest, all of us, your father-in-law loves you.
Oh, he loves me now.
loves you.
He loves me now.
He does. And what I love
like
is,
that.
I love that he put you through what he did. I love it. I love
work.
it. But what I love is that even though we knew, per se, what he was going to say, all of our father-in-laws know that we loved their daughter.
No, I haven't even told
so
you what my
much.
father-in-law said.
I know. I'm
Oh,
perfect.
yeah, yeah,
Let me
yeah.
finish.
This is the best for the end.
But what I love, fine, then go. You say. Keep going.
So when I asked my father-in-law in the bar, and I said something along the lines of, so I was thinking that, I want to ask you if I can,
Oh my gosh.
Spit it
You
out.
kept saying Did you keep saying
No. I'm just trying to convey how nervous I was,
Oh
but
my gosh.
I was like, I'm hoping that you'll give me permission to marry Tara. These were his words, bro. He said, "It's up to her."
Wow.
Bro.
You're like, okay, cool. That's an easy one.
All right, cool.
She
moving
said
on, moving
this,
on.
and she said this. She said, "If she's happy, that's all I care about." It was rough, bro. It was rough days, bro.
That's a process.
So wait, like that, there was like
Yes.
attitude in that. Like, what was he actually being sincere?
My story with my father-in-law is probably a book I want to write, bro.
So give me a second. I have a question.
I'd
Oh,
love to
man.
read that. Good.
This is good though. I love
I mean,
it.
but it
this
is.
is all
It's
about
so much
father-in-laws.
about that.
Yeah,
There
it's
is,
about
yeah.
father-in-laws.
Especially as the man part of it,
Right.
which I know there's women perspectives to living with
Yeah.
in-laws,
Right,
but
yeah, but
I
we're
know
just
we're
trying to
talking
talk
about
from
that.
our perspective.
So did you have hear me when I say healthy relationship with your father-in-law before you asked this question?
No.
Okay. So that's like, or were you in like
No, it was I mean, that's its own podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was rough, bro. I had to really endure to marry Tara.
Yeah.
I had to hang on, bro, because it was not.
At least you didn't get promised somebody else.
yeah, at least you didn't get a different sister.
But
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
a really cool. But this is a really cool thing. He doesn't care
And
that I say
redemption,
this, right?
Yeah, the redemption side of it, yeah.
So, it was highly spiritual too.
Right.
Okay, so it wasn't just cultural. It wasn't just familial. It wasn't just emotional. It was highly spiritual. So my father-in-law let me know pretty directly he did not want me to marry his daughter at one specific moment, right? But then I ended up baptizing him.
Yeah.
Like 2 years later.
Yeah. I was about to say I thought it was like a year and a half, yeah.
You know what I mean? So I really want to write a book about it because it's like the turnaround
Yeah,
is
yeah.
like so
How
incredibly profound.
Yeah.
Turntables.
Wow.
So
Come on, not even a giggle of any of you?
and that the turntables.
Oh, the turntables.
And-
Sorry, I was deep. in
My
it.
father-in-law now is the kind of man that's been softened by Christ so much that like he's very open about how proud he is of us, and you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So
That's cool.
yeah, so it's a very different story, but it
Yeah.
has a happy ending. So
So I'll still say this. I do believe as much of a semi-negative relationship in a sense during that time you had. One thing I can say is all of our in-laws, all of our fathers knew how much we loved their daughters. Like genuinely how we sacrificed.
Okay, can I go back to the thing that we left a little bit ago?
Yeah, that's where I was about to
you
go
just
to
said that.
Yeah.
So I gotta tell you, so when I saw the video of that Asian man saying, you know, if you change your mind, don't hurt her, bring her back to me. I realized something, bro. I went back in time. Have you seen Ratatouille when he eats the piece of food
Oh my gosh,
and he goes
back?
he goes back to like his childhood, right? I flew back. I had my daughter now. I just flew back to the moment I was sitting at our wedding table. We had already gotten married. We were at the reception. We had our food, and I'm sitting. It was so vivid, bro.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, I loved Tara, and I knew what I was getting, but my mind was still so immature and so ignorant to what I was getting from this man, bro.
Yeah.
I had no idea. This man wore his sunglasses all day for a reason, man. Like it was hard to let go of his daughter, right? So
Yeah, I remember that.
so me sitting at that table, you know, I'm sitting there thinking I'm just receiving this, when what I'm really receiving is like all of this, you
Right.
know?
Yeah.
And so I say that to say, like, now that I'm a father and now that I have a daughter, I get it completely. I don't hold an ounce of offense and bitterness because, boy,
You're
do
almost
I get
like,
it.
I wish you were even harder on me.
I'll be honest, like, I'm probably gonna be a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're probably
Like,
gonna
I
be telling
just-
that to some kid.
Yeah, like
Back.
I'm probably gonna be a nightmare, and the reason why is because no kid at that age has the ability to really know.
Yeah.
I don't care how good of a kid you are.
Yeah.
I don't care how good of a man you are. Like, you have no idea what I'm giving you because you've never had it. You know what I mean?
But then there's this grace
Yeah.
to being like, all right.
No, it's less grace, honestly. I think what God's gonna have to give me is a lot of trust for Him,
100%.
right?
Oh my
So
gosh,
it's like,
yeah.
so it's not gonna be based on the person,
Well, no, that's
because
what I mean. Like,
ultimately
just grace.
my daughter's gonna end up choosing that.
Well, because it's
Right.
grace,
Right.
just like the grace that we needed as we walked down the aisle
Yeah.
and like went down this movement with our wives.
Yeah.
We needed grace from our in-laws. We needed grace from the aspect of like, I don't know exactly how to perfect, even though we think we did.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
thought we were like all this in the bag of chips and loved them in the best way that we could. But we understood marriage at 0%.
Yeah.
And then the reality of like, and they knew that. That's the wild part. Like looking ahead in a sense, I'm like, yeah, that moment, I'm going to want to choke slam him still. But I pray that I love him in a way that I know that this is how the Lord's been revealing this to me, is there is a way that I cannot love my daughter that she needs in life.
That's a good.
I get to love her in a way that future man will never be able to love her. Just like that future man will be able to love her in a way that I will never be able to love
I
her.
think for me,
Yeah.
it's not the way. For me,
But
it's
just-
the
well, just
safety
way.
of a love.
Yes.
Yes.
The
Yes.
safety, does that make
Right.
sense? So it's not. So I know one thing for sure. I could never love my daughter like a husband could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I know this. I know that
I
my
can protect the tar out
intentions
of her. Yeah. Yeah.
are the purest intentions
Yeah.
for her, right? And so it's going to be a matter of trust. But I think, like, going back to the original conversation about, like, you know, being in your in-laws' house, I feel like that's one of the reasons why like, my idea of it is, I just think a son-in-law has to do everything they need to do to prove to their father-in-law that they're doing everything in their power.
Well, that's
to provide
why I
for their
think,
families.
That's why I think they would respect that in this sense, right? Like we all had goals and visions for ourselves and our family, and that was the reason why.
Yeah, sure.
As long as there's a why in place, I like looking at it now. Like if my sons came to me later and said, "Hey, Dad, we need to stay with you. Here's our plans. Here's what we like to do." If they came to me, I'd be like, "That's awesome," and I'd respect it. Now, as long as they stick to it and we communicate, it goes back to your original question.
Yeah,
like, and as far as the in-laws and how they view it, I mean, we were only expecting to be there for 6 months. 6
Right.
months turned into a year and a half.
Yeah.
So for my in-laws, they're like, hey, it's been 7 months now. It's 8 months, right? So now it's like we've got to be on that communication, making sure that, hey, we thought it was 6 months. It's not 6 months. It's now we're looking at 9 months. Oh, it's not 9 months. Now it's 12 months. Like, it's tough. It's tough for them
15
now.
months?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very probable.
Yeah, very probable. 24?
Yeah. 19? Oh, sure. 20?
I can see that happening.
I can see that happening.
Another office quote, everyone.
But
Yeah.
but I think that's why we're going into the father-in-laws, right? As far as how we feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Father-in-law is a big part of staying with the in-laws. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, how's our relationship going to be?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we all had different relationships with our in-laws, like all very different relationships. And again, you're moving in because of health.
Yeah.
Right? We moved in because of finances and property and next step and et cetera.
Yep.
You know, but overall I know this. As husbands and wherever you guys are at, you know, if you guys are praying about this or trying to figure out where you guys are at in life, like be led by God. And don't use it as a crutch. Using it as a crutch means like once something is healed, you need to get your foot off and go and strengthen it. Like if you break your leg, there's a time period you need to have a crutch so then your leg can heal properly. But there's also a point where you need to then remove the crutches, get the cast off, and start strengthening your muscles again to move forward. So then you can live out a different life than when you broke your leg, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a moment where if crap hit the fan, I might need a crutch for a season. If I need to move out of my house so I can move into this next one, I might need a crutch for a season, right? But then whenever I have an opportunity, like, let us not be lazy people, just sitting on our hands being like, well, you know, yeah, I'm just going to be here whenever, why ever. I think you talking about vision is a perfect explanation. That in reality, vision is critical. Vision and direction and what our goals are for our families. And also know this, you may not know, but if you can just cling and say, I'm going to keep trying to take steps forward, I'm going to keep moving, and I'm going to keep taking direction, like God is going to give you clarity on the direction of your life. But like, don't use it because it's quiet or because you don't have vision as an excuse to, as Alejo said, sit on the couch with my butt down, just not working. Like, go put your hands to the plow, go work, go be people, like go be, and again, I'm talking to men, you know, in this way. There's other women that are living with their in-laws and like things like that too. But like, you know, particularly to the husbands and things like that, like just put your hands, work and take action and know that it's not going to be easy. Like did you have an easy, like I know you had an easy, but were there things that you had to walk through?
No,
that
bro, my in-laws were stellar.
Okay.
I literally.
Again, it's not my in-laws were incredible.
I think we were harder to live with than they were.
I agree. I agree too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it was,
And what I mean by is like it's still going to be difficult. There were things you had to figure out.
yeah.
As an individual, like
Sure,
it wasn't
sure,
like you just walked in and now this place is
I
mine.
think
I can do
logistics
whatever
of
I want.
space and kids, but other than that, like, I'm really intrigued to see how our economy is going to affect this conversation.
Yeah.
Like, I wonder how we're going to look at it 2 years from now or 3 years from now,
Right.
because
Yes.
it's probably going to have to be.
Again, what's so
different.
funny is I'd be down to live with like family on a compound in separate houses. I'd be down to,
Which
or
is
like
what we do
in
now.
this way, right? Like, right. But like in a way that's like, hey, if you have this, like you said, like a certain boundary or a certain line, or, you know, hey, this is your space, like, etc. Because that's the weird, like, not weird, but that's the reality of marriage. There's intimacy involved. There's even intimacy where when my wife and I need to have a real conversation because we're flustered because of kids or because of this, and it's like, I need to be very real with your daughter right now. We need to go outside. You know, it's like I need to have a conversation. When you have your own house, you can rip off the rawness and like just have the conversation. But when you're in someone else's home, you gotta like, hey honey, let's go have a conversation upstairs. You know, it's like this like, or let's go outside. You know, it's just
so many dynamics we don't get to touch on, right?
Yeah,
like fights in the mid, like fights or
Oh my
disagreements, or I'm angry at you while your parents
yell
are
at my daughter.
around.
Right.
Do you side with your parents? Do your parents side with
with
me?
you, yep.
Like, there's so much there. You're like, oh, I didn't even think about that.
Welcome.
Yeah, like,
Welcome.
do do you have the disagreement like out in the open? Like, are you comfortable enough to like?
Do you even have the space? Do you even literally have the space to go out somewhere where you can actually have the conversation? Because you have kids. Yep. So I can't exactly leave the house.
I actually do remember moments, actually, that just popped in my head, like where we would tell each other, I don't like you right now, and we're not going to have this conversation right now. We're going to save it for when we go out to date night in a couple days. And
so
we would
really
write
want
it
to
down.
have fun with you that day, but first we're going to fight.
But what was nice about it is it's like now you have a couple days to now think about what's going to happen.
Which usually makes the fight so much lighter.
So you get to date night and you're like, I love you. I love you too.
What are we fighting about?
What the heck?
We're idiots.
We're married. We're not going anywhere. You love me. I love you. So
Yeah, right.
right. Like, but that was the space. It was the we're not gonna hash it out right now in front of everybody.
And it's like the smile and nod, like we're gonna talk later. I love you so much.
Now, some people need to consider talking to their spouse like they live with their in-laws.
Ooh, that's good.
Jeez.
Don't drop this one.
Yeah,
Don't drop it.
That was good. That was
Yeah. So why? Break it down.
Yeah, because you have a desire to respect and honor people who are listening.
Correct.
Sometimes more than the person you're talking to. You know.
So with the rawness
And-
of your own home, you could just hash it out and yell at your wife right now.
In a very
Be
inappropriate
ugly,
way.
be
very-
cynic,
anger
be sarcastic. You know. And obviously, if you do that enough while your father-in-law is around, something's gonna happen. Like
Done,
eventually, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the grave that you dug whenever you started to date her you're gonna go.
Right.
in.
It's
Exactly.
still there. Just
So-
wait.
It's still there. The shovel is still sitting there.
So yeah, that's you know that's something too that like living with our in-laws. I think it really helped us gain a very healthy dynamic with each other, because I think Tara, and I don't know if any of your wives have had this before, but I think Tara had a temptation to like undermine me in front of her parents, like maybe early on. Not in a very obvious and consistent way, but there were certain like exception moments where like she would talk to me in a way that I would go, that didn't
Now, if
feel
it was
right,
in your own
you know?
house, it would like maybe
If
phrased
it wasn't
over.
if it was in our house and it was an us thing,
Right.
When it's in front of her parents, now it's almost like she's making them. She's like really minimizing me, right? So and then same thing with me. Like I also had to, of course, exercise a lot of self-control, talking to her about everything, right? So it was almost like I was almost wearing like a back brace to fix your posture. Does that make sense?
Yep.
It's like this is that's how far we can move here. Yeah, okay, that's probably that's probably the posture we should have, and I think it helped in the long run.
Yeah. Wow.
So
That's crazy.
So what is a fear of yours, Agostini, as you like go through this process, like as you've been praying through it?
So ever since we got married, for coming up on 9 years, all we know is, and especially for me, all I know is like living on my own. Like since I was maybe 19 or 20, I've always just lived on my own, lived with somebody. I lived with your brother-in-law for a little bit.
Yep.
And so leaving everything that I know, my culture that I have created with my own family, with kids, and to now leave and like do things that like, so again, this is like with every family dynamic. Some people in different families do different things. Like some people are slobs, some people are not. And so it's like, you know, like for me, like we like things certain ways and we do things certain ways in our home. And now we're going to go to somebody else's home and it's their home. It's not ours.
Right.
So now we're like almost doing this, and I'm not, of course, as a man, and this is pride. Of course, I don't want to do that. I want to be a leader of my own home. And that feels like that's humbling for us to be like, all right, I'm now submitting unto this home, and because it's not mine. And so that's a part that's going to be interesting, and like learning that, because you know, you can't just do whatever you want to do. I can't walk around in my underwear.
Right.
I do it in my own house. I can't do it in somebody else's house.
Right.
And so there's just certain things that.
I think I got to the point where I was comfortable enough for that.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Wow.
No.
Wow.
Never
kidding.
mind.
Never
Never mind.
That's,
I thought I did. No, I wasn't kidding. I thought I did, but no, I don't think I did.
Supposed to say it was bold.
that's bold.
Yeah.
That's a bold man right there.
And
that
that-
might have been why you didn't have a good relationship.
Yeah. And I think it's like for us, like,
It had nothing to do with Tara.
That's when things got good. So
and I know me and my wife have been together.
It's like,
We've been together since junior year of high school. So I know her siblings since they were like little, and so now it's like we're all adults, and so like being in this place of like, you know, trying to protect boundaries and like knowing that like there's lines that we do not want to cross because we know we can cross them because we're comfortable and we know each other so well, and so
you do not want to walk down this road. There's only pain down this road.
And I think that's scary for me too. It's like knowing, like we were talking about, honestly, like being really real. It's like knowing now that I'm in someone's house, like it does put you on this place of like, okay, how do I respond? Because when I'm at home and like me and my wife have an argument or a disagreement or something, like there's ways that we talk, but then now it's like, okay, now I'm in a place where I can't just have a full blown like conversation like out in the open with everybody, where we need to be somewhere like, you know, people are watching us, so it's like, oh, we need to be discreet, we need to find a privacy. It makes you think about, okay, what am I going to say right now? Like, makes me actually really think about my thoughts and what my words are and how much power they actually do have. Because, of course, as people watch us, there's, of course, as men, we want to make sure we are always looking the best in front of others. And so now with your other people in the room, you're like, okay, it makes me really think about, man, how am I about to say this? How am I about to come across? And so,
but I think it's so good. I think in your season right now, you guys are almost the gift.
Yeah.
You are the gift. So and in that, you're also going to be setting an example for these siblings. So in those moments when you and your wife are like, we're not on the same page, you can just tell the family, hey guys, we'll be right back. Yeah, we got to talk about this because this is what you do in marriage. Is you communicate. And so we're going to go do that.
No, that's
instead
good.
of explosions or instead of losing yourself.
And honestly, another thing that we really, for me, as hard as like my children, like I've given them, they both have their own rooms. Like we tried our best to like give them everything that, like to bless them. And so knowing that like now we're going to this place or thinking about going to this place of like, what's that going to look like for their dynamic of their growth? And like, you know, they're going to be around grandma and grandpa. They're probably excited about that. But like, there's parts of them, like there's things that we do with them. Like I don't know. There's just that.
How old are they?
They're 5 and 3, and so they are growing up, and so it's like I just want to make sure I'm still giving them that best childhood, and like still giving them the things they need, and like I want to give them the intentional time with them, and so that's the part I think about a lot is really just my kids.
Core
like,
memories, bro.
Yeah,
they aren't gonna know anything financially and ethically, morally, what's going on. They're going to be like, oh my gosh, we get to live where?
So that was my wife. My wife actually lived with her grandma and grandpa. Yeah. And so she says that she remembers just loving it. She said that I love living with my grandma and grandpa.
That's all Asher and Aiden have talked about ever since.
They're going to gain something.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. Even till this day, Aiden's like, Daddy, can we sell our house and go live with Papa and Gaga? I'm like, no. But
great idea.
But that's their mindset is, we had so much fun.
Yeah, and I think sometimes we as the adults overthink and overprocess the things that we might be taking away from our children or removing from our children, when in reality, like the blessings that they have, half the time they may not realize until later, or that it's just life, you know, and we are the ones that give it to them. Like, dude, if you haven't watched Bluey episode, oh my gosh. Have you watched the last Bluey episode? It's a 30-minute Bluey episode. My voice cracked because I got emotional.
I'm not emotionally stable enough to watch Bluey today.
So don't do it. So pretty much, long story short, have you seen it? The 30-minute Bluey?
Yes.
Yeah. So like that, please watch it. That process, when he looks at, you know, his wife and says like, I just want to give them the best life that I can give them. The reality is, for the children at that time, they already are having the best life. But for them, they're seeing all the things that they're missing. But for the kids, they're like, I have everything already.
Do you think that the Lord does the same thing that we were watching were speaking this much to our parents?
I think somewhere.
And maybe we just don't remember?
I think somewhere. Well, I do think some were speaking to our family.
Can you give some examples?
I'm not going to say, I'm pretty sure.
X-Men 97.
SpongeBob.
Come on.
Johnny Bravo.
Johnny Bravo.
Was Teletubbies really saying that?
Oh, yeah, no.
Was Teletubbies
cartoons
really
were bad
the
back
god?
then, guys. Come on.
Yeah.
They have documentaries
the
now.
baby comes out.
Yeah,
bro, that show is the perfect example that confusion is great marketing.
Yes.
Yeah.
People are like, every episode they're like, this episode I'm going to understand what's going on.
Adventure Time. Yeah.
Next week. I'll get it.
But yeah, shows these days, they just...
At least some are just dumb to do it. But I think I think some have chosen to be in the way of like particularly Bluey for an example.
Yeah.
I think it speaks so much more to the parents, and it's like addressed to the parents in so many ways more than the kids. Because as you're watching it, you're just like, oh, that one hurt me. Oh,
Yeah.
that one touched me. And like that one particularly of like moving and selling the house and like doing all this stuff, getting the new job and like all these things. I'm just like, yeah, that as a husband. And I told Stephanie, I was like, you got to watch this one. And I like watched it, a part of it. And I was like, I got to watch this with Stephanie. And then after we talked about it, I was like, honey, did that kind of give you a little bit of a picture into like my mind sometimes? She was like, I feel like it did. Because like that alone, this statement alone, that I got this job because I want to give my kids more. I want to give them I want to bless them with everything they can. And then there's a scene where Bingo is like playing at a table and they like sold the house and they moved out. Bingo goes, gets another toy, comes back and the table's gone. She's like, Mom, where'd the table go? She's like, honey, well, we're moving. We sold the house. And she was like, okay. She's like, selling the house means we don't live here anymore. And Bingo's like, well, wait, I didn't know that. Like, she was all excited. She was the excited one. And then come to find out that, like, her leaving, them moving out of the house wasn't what she wanted, but it was like, oh, it just sounds cool, you know? And in reality, all they ever wanted was that home. All they ever wanted was these places. And like, yeah, they make
What the heck,
statements
bro?
of,
Bluey's supposed to be
Dude,
Well
Spoiler
done,
alert.
Bluey.
it's a
They captured a
30-minute
dad.
episode.
We love you, Disney.
30-minute episode. No, it was before Disney, but they did a good job on that
Church
one.
service.
Yeah.
Go watch Bluey.
Go watch Bluey.
Oh my
Oh
God.
my gosh. That statement is
that
not
statement-
sponsored by the Prolific Podcast.
Put a blur.
That
A
is
blur.
not the
All right,
heart
he's
of the
officially
Prolific
blurred out of the
Podcast.
episode. But no, it's wild. And so I think there's so many areas of our life that we overcomplicate as fathers, right? That we're the ones thinking that we need to give our families all of these things, or even in this whole in-law living boundary situation. That's kind of like what I was getting at with communication. Like I didn't go up to my brothers-in-laws and be like, hey, so you don't want to come around the room between this time and this. Like, I'm not gonna. No, I didn't have those conversations. You know, it's just like, if they happen to come up, cool. And that's like, again, making things a big deal that just don't need to be a big deal.
Yeah.
You know, like you're dealing with grown-ups. Your kids have never slept in the same room like that before.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's grace, there's truth, there's these moments. But I think sometimes we just don't have to make things such a big deal. You know, like, I don't know. That's something in my life. I just try to live very light in a lot of ways.
You make things a big deal when you haven't had an opportunity to like learn contentment.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and contentment is learned. It's not. It's contentment is not something that you just like naturally like know how to arrive at. Like, contentment is perspective to understand that, like, I don't know if you guys have seen this video. There's this video of a girl who's like blowing her candles in the cake, and somebody like pushes her head in the cake.
Yeah.
And then the next video is a little somebody holding a lighter for a little girl singing "Happy Birthday," and then she blows the lighter on the candle, right? Or the candle
fire,
lighter, fire in the lighter, and then at the bottom it says, "All of our lives are not the same," right? So I feel like part of the problem is that we lack so much perspective.
100%.
You know what I mean? We lack so much perspective, and sometimes getting stuff is actually it actually hurts us because we develop this fear of losing that we wouldn't have had before if we wouldn't have gotten blank.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, I think that's one of the reasons why it's harder for people who like are advanced in life and have like all these resources or whatever to like turn their life to Christ, for example.
I mean, that's
like,
what the Word of God says, the parable. Eye of the needle. The eye of the needle is literally a camel getting on its knees, stripping off everything on its back, and walking through a doorway. Everything. And that's the treasures.
And I think we develop a fear of doing
100%
that. The
of
longer we
stripping
have
everything.
things, the more we receive, right? And it's like,
it's good.
I mean, like there are people that don't even have one bedroom for their kids.
Right. They live
You
in a
know?
room with 8 kids. Everyone lives in the same room. Their kitchen's
Everybody
in the
lives
room.
there,
Yeah.
and then if you see them, bro. Tim was telling me about this in El Salvador, that he was praying with a girl, and she was like, they were all going around, and their dad had left them like 6 months prior. Had just left them because like things were so hard financially that he just left, and you know, just and they were going around like asking for prayer requests, and you know, he was telling me the story, and he told me the story. I'll tell you guys what happened, but I was considering like prayer requests in America. I feel like everybody always has a prayer request, you know, and not always, but I guess they were going around the circle, and they were asking everybody, and they got to this girl. She was the oldest of the kids of this dad that went away, and they were only with their mom, and she said, I just want to thank God. She was like 10 years old. She was like, he's just been really good to us.
Right.
And Tim was like, he said that like that moment changed his life. To understand that like the way we view life can be so different based on our experience.
Right.
And sometimes we are the ones that have the hardest time thanking God because we've received so many things.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, bro, I don't know about you, but I tried to like, I know it's like, we're not talking about like houses, but I guess we kind of are. But like when I try to thank God for my house as much as I can when I get home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like when I pull up to our concrate pad that is
Every
like
day.
so much. I love our
I
concrete
pull
pad.
through the gate
yeah.
and
And I'm like, God, this is amazing.
this is ours. You've given us this
This is crazy.
every day.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Come on, bro.
That's good.
That's why you're my neighbor.
Will you be my neighbor?
All right. Well,
Ding ding.
well, I love you guys. Thank you for chilling out. Thank you for making this a little bit of spontaneous life here.
Yeah.
So glad that we've made it happen. Talk through in-laws, talk through fathership, talk through home ownership.
One day our in-laws are gonna, our son-in-laws, we're gonna come with this podcast and be like, you remember this?
Remember this moment?
Yeah.
It's my turn.
This is my turn.
Oh man.
But seriously, guys, thank you. Thank you so much for the podcast. If you guys got something out of it, we believe the Lord will always be speaking through a lot of different ways. So excited that just a group of 4 young dudes that are family men pursuing
Young? I'll
Jesus.
take it.
Yeah, we're young. We're young. We're not young adults, but we're young.
I'm in my 20s.
I meant you shut your mouth. I remember in my 20s when I
Can't
could say
believe
that. This
believe
friggin' turd. Not for that much longer. Yeah.
You're 29, aren't you?
Just wait.
29?
It's knocking. 30 is knocking.
Okay.
Okay. All right. We love you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Prolific Podcast.
See you guys. Love y'all.
Bye.